Hi, this is Jim Gibson with Blackstone Cybersecurity, and we're a consulting group. We also do IT design. We've been around for a while, and we have 75 years worth of experience, and I've been in IT for almost 40 years, and along with cybersecurity for almost that long. Of course, back then they didn't call it cybersecurity. They called it communication security, and I went to school for crypto. Anyway, there's another video about my certifications. But as a company, we're here to help you. So check us out. So I want to talk today about two-factor authentication. So what is two-factor authentication? Well, one factor is password. Two-factor is not only password, but something else. And it has to be one of three things. Okay, to have two-factor authentication, you have to have two of three. And the three are something you know, password, something you have, cell phone, and something you are, bio, look at your eyes, the way you type, things like that, your thumbprint, that's what you are. So it has to be two of the three to be a two-factor authentication. And let me tell you how that works. So let's say you got your password down, you're using a password manager. It's complex password, it's 16 digits or more. And you're all happy with that and everything else. A lot of websites allow you to have what's called a two-factor authentication, and you should take advantage of that. And what it does is, let's say Amazon. Okay, here's an example. When I go into Amazon, I put in my password and everything else, and everything's taken care of. It's complex. It's the maximum password I can put in. It's all taken care of. And then all of a sudden what it does is it comes up with a screen, and on the screen it has me to put in a code. Within a split second, I have a text message on my cell phone that tells me the code that I need to put in. And I put that code in, I am in there. Now, why do you want that type of two-factor authentication? Remember, something I know and something I have. So why is that important? Well, let's say someone's got into your system, okay? Let's say they stole your laptop. And they have the ability to break into your system. So they just log on, and all of a sudden the password's instantly put in there and everything else, and they're in. Or let's say that they put a keylogger. Now, what a keylogger is it's malware, and it's put into your system. And so every time you type something, your computer is communicating that to a hacker. So you put in your password and everything else, and you're typing along. Well, that goes right to a hacker. And the hacker turns around and gets right into your system. You can have a complex password at that point. They're still going to have that complex password. So that's not going to prevent them from getting into your system. However, if you have a two-factor authentication, and let's say they send that code to you in the cell phone, well, that code's only good for 1 minute. And you only get one code, and it only goes to your cell phone. So they can know the password, but they're not going to be able to get into your account if you have two-factor authentication enabled. Banks, you should have a two-factor authentication, because if somehow your password, which you should never write down, by the way. I see people put it on stickies, put it underneath the keyboard, things like that. That's the first place I look, by the way. Someone's at lunch, I lift up the keyboard, right underneath is their password. You can type right in, It's silly. You shouldn't do that. So that's a violation. So why, in some cases, why even have a password if you're going to write it out on a sticky and stick it on the computer? But again, sometimes you can use a fob rather than this. Where like RSA, the company RSA has little fobs and has little 6-digit codes in there. I think it's 6-digit. And every 30 seconds or every minute that code changes. And every minute it changes. And it's a coordination with the company, that RSA company, and your server or the server somewhere else. And what happens is when that server asks for that code, you type it in, and you got 30 seconds, 60 seconds to type it in. And that's your two-factor authentication, the second factor. And of course, some people have dongles. They put the dongle in, type the password in, it checks the dongle. So that's two separate items, password and dongle. Now, some people have this confused, and I hope you don't. They think that, well, if I put in a password and then a PIN, that's two-factor authentication. No, it's not. That's one-factor authentication. That's two things you know. Okay, so it has to be something you know, something you have, something you are. It has to be two of those three things. So what is the R? Well, sometimes that can be a retina scan or an iris scan. That can be a thumbprint. Remember, we discussed that already, a thumbprint. You know what's really interesting? It can be the way you type. Believe it or not, how long you take between the R and the X. So you'll come up to a system and it'll give you, you type in your password and it will say type this sentence, and you type in that sentence. It knows your characteristic typing habits. And so it's able to say, yeah, this is that person. So that's something you are. Really like to see that develop further. That's quite interesting because you can't tell somebody how you type. That's not something you can communicate. So, that's really interesting. Also, facial recognition, things like that. So you can have password, facial recognition. That's two-factor authentication. You can use all three of the factors. Something you know, something you have, something you are. And if you have all three factors, that's even better yet. But most people, two-factor authentication, fantastic. I always like to use my cell phone. It's the easiest thing to use. We're not dealing with top secret information with the government here, okay? That's pretty secure if you have over a 16-digit complex password for each, separate one for each of your logins, and then you have something like your second factor being a code that website sends you. This is what's called two-factor authentication. Look at my video on how to set a password, and this is a companion video. It talks about two-factor authentication. Again, this is Jim Gibson with Blackstone Cyber Security, and we're consultants. We're also project managers. We've installed systems and managed systems all over the United States, and we have 75 years experience in cybersecurity. We have all the certs and everything else that's necessary. We can help you with policies, procedures, things like that, but I don't want to take any longer on this video. We do have a video that gives you a detail about everything that we have in all our certifications and why you should hire us to help you with your IT projects and help you with your cybersecurity projects. Hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching my video.